So Frank, as our audience is keenly aware, you have had experience being a principal both prior to and following school shootings being a part of our reality. Would you mind speaking just a few minutes about how your perspective, approach, and mindset as a principal has changed and shifted as a result?
You know, I started in education in 1979 as a teacher and became principal in 1996, and I think back to that time, you know, the only drills we did were fire drills, and we used to do our monthly fire drills as part of routine. But after the Columbine situation happened, I think our lives changed a whole lot. Things that I learned is you could have the best curriculum, you could have the best plans and things of that nature, but if kids don't feel safe, it's hard to teach. And culture and environment became a very important part. It was always important to me, but as time went on after the Columbine tragedy, I had to take care of the mental state of the kids and the staff, and so it was an eye-opener. And I know now, with this generation that we have, these kids from the very time they enter elementary school, they're going through drills and things of that nature, so it's become a part of our culture, and I think that's been the biggest culture shift that I've seen over the years.
So there's a different mindset for principals, too, to have been raised as teachers and then become administrators and then all of a sudden say, ooh, there's a whole nother side to this that is so critical for student safety and security, which leads to better learning, too.
And most definitely, and I think the most important thing that if I can share with principals, if you would have told me that a Columbine could have happened at Columbine prior to April 20th, 1999, I would have said, no, it happens other places. And one of the things when I do go out and get an opportunity to talk to principals and school administrators that, you know, they need to take these drills seriously, just as seriously as they do for testing and things of that nature, because you never know on any given day an event could happen.
So most of our audience today is school board members and superintendents. Having spoken to principals and school boards across the country, are there any patterns that you have noticed in what principals wished that their school board members knew when it comes to their perspective as principals on school safety and security?
I think it's important to support the principals. I think what's important is school board members actually need to be in the schools to see what we're experiencing, to see what these drills are doing, because one of the things that I share so many times, people will ask, well, what are you going to do for your school? Well, they're all of our kids, and I think that support needs to be there to enhance that. Once again, if students are hungry, if they don't feel safe, they're not going to learn, and I think it's that support system that needs to be in place, and things have changed. And again, just stating it can never happen here is not a reality.
So again, from that perspective of being a former principal, what do you believe are the most important things that school board members can do to better understand and support their principal with this important work? So in addition to visiting during drills, maybe?
Well, I think they need to refer to the executive or security directors. You know, for example, in Jefferson County, we're so fortunate to have John McDonald, who is our executive director, and turn to the expertise. But one of the things that I think has changed, and you asked me this question earlier, is 20 years ago we had all these separate entities. That you had law enforcement that was kind of acting as an entity, and then firefighters, and then school administrators. We have to all come together around the table, and that includes school board members, that it's a team, and how do we make our schools as safe as they can possibly be, and turn to the experts, and then stating how do we implement that for our particular school. And the other thing that I think is so important for school board members to understand, especially in larger districts such as Jeffco, it's a large school district, over 85,000 students. Each school is a little bit different, and how do you modify that plan for each individual school? And I think that's the role of school board members, is to find out how do we address the needs of every school.
So enough consistency to say we are systematic, we have a system and that's thought through, but also the ability to individualize.
Right, and one size does not fit all, and it's making those modifications, but you have a plan that has been proven, and I think one of the many lessons learned from Columbine is we have things in place that we did not have. What is considered best practices, and then modifying that for your individual school.
Great. So understand that part of your personal commitment now includes reaching out to and supporting principals who've experienced a shooting in their school community. Do you have any words of advice for this group of superintendents and school board members as a result of spending time with and supporting those leaders who've experienced these shootings?
It's real interesting. I made a comment a little over 20 years ago that I just joined a club in which no one wants to be a member. And not that I'm an expert, but when I do make a phone call to other communities where this has transpired, when I state I know what you're feeling, I really do. And you could have the best laid out plan, but until you go through it, it's just reaching out. And that's one of the things I share. You can't determine what happens to you, but you can determine your reaction. And so by reaching out, whether it be Parkland or Sandy Hook, I can state this is how the advice I can have. I can remember receiving a phone call probably within 24 hours from a gentleman named Bill Bond, and he was a principal at Heath High School in Paducah. And he said, "You're just overwhelmed right now." And he said, "You don't even know what you need, but I'm going to give you my number. And as time goes on, I can guarantee you, even though we're in a different part of the country, the pattern's going to be the same." And I share that. And so I think a lot of times the piece of advice that I would give to superintendents and school board members around the country to reach out to some of those people that are unfortunately part of that club. And you still need to get the experts in, psychologists, criminologists, but don't underestimate the power of what people have been through and what they can share with your communities.
Fantastic. So I appreciate your willingness to join us through video today, since you couldn't be with us in person. Any other last-minute words of advice?
The thing that I truly believe is I refuse to be helpless and hopeless. And we continue to hear about these events that happen, but I can assure you that our schools are safer now they've been. We have learned, there's been many lessons learned, and we can't ever give up hope because they're our kids, our most precious commodity, and it's a team effort. And we need to come together as parents, as teachers, as administrators, community people to take care of all of our kids and provide them an opportunity to live fruitful lives.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.